All right, guys, we are going to get into the EURUSD good trade setup gone wrong here. There's a lot of value for you guys in this video, so stay through till the end. But I want to let you know before we get into the recap that starting today, the 28th of October, through the end of the week, November 1st, we're running our Halloween sale. It's a huge sale, 31% off. And if you aren't on the team, if you're on the fence about the VIP chat and the course, this is the week to take advantage of it. I can't believe we're running this big of a sale all week. You are crazy. You know that.
Spooky Pips.
Spooky Pips is the discount code, guys. The link is in the description below. 31% off the one-time fee, lifetime access to the course and the VIP chat. Spooky Pips, discount code at checkout. Link is in the description below. Enjoy the trade recap. Good morning, traders. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Austin Silver. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you checking out my trading content, my trading recaps, my live trades, all of the content that I'm creating for you and the rest of the trading community. In today's video, we've got a great trade set up here. This is EURUSD. We're looking to take this thing short to the 800 EMA. As you can see right now, it's about 6:11, almost 6:12 in the morning. I'm up about 5 pips in the trade, so I want to break down everything here for you. I want to show you what I liked, what I didn't like, and the indicators that I'm using to manage this trade properly. So let's flip over to TradingView. As you can see, I have the same setup here marked up. What I want to notice first, what I want us to agree on first, is that the trend here is not what I would consider in full trend. The reason for that is because price action is underneath the 50, which is this blue line here, and the 200, which is the white line here. It's underneath both of those EMAs. But we have the 800 EMA on the bottom. In a full uptrend, you'll have the 800 EMA on the bottom, then the 200, then the 50, and then price action. So here, the EMAs are not in full trend, but on the short term, if you disregard this dark blue line at the bottom, if you disregard the 800, the short-term EMAs are. The TDI confirms the direction that the short-term EMAs are telling us to trade, which is short. So that's the first thing that I liked about the confirmation of the counter trend move here. Now, the reason I still have the 800 on the chart is because that's what I like to use when I see setups like this. Again, it's just repeatable patterns that I've been studying, the same patterns year on year on year. When I see these setups, the 800 EMA is a great take profit level. On top of that, quickly, just take a look. We had a breakout yesterday to the downside. Now, it did pull back on some news before ending the day lower. It was choppy yesterday, very ugly. I didn't trade yesterday. But that short entry yesterday makes me think that we could see this thing come lower again today. I don't like to fight the trend, right? On top of that, I want to keep piecing this together for you. There's 2 indicators that I am using here to help me gauge this trade. So first, just standard pivot points. This is a standard indicator. You can search it right here in the top of TradingView and it'll come up for you just like this. You see these orange lines, horizontal lines, those are the pivot points. As you can see, price action right now is in this 15-minute candle just pinning for the first time the pivot point, which we would call the S1 line. So first, I was looking for this to break out this morning. I didn't like the entry here at 5 a.m. because we were still above the Asian session low. Once we broke through that Asian session low, then I'm like, okay, this is a new low of day. Everything is telling me we could see this come to the 800. What else is in my way? The 2 things that typically will get in the way are these pivot points, number 1, or average daily range, which as you can see in the top corner here, I have a tool called the ASFX ADR tool. Again, you can search that right here in indicators and that'll pop up for you as well. That you can't see. That is these green, see this green horizontal line here on the bottom and the green horizontal line here on the top? Those are your average daily range markers. That tells us the distance, 55.12, the distance in pips that this should move because of how much it's moved over the last 5 days on average. So today we've only moved about 20 pips. If you measure from the top to the bottom, 23 pips. If ADR is 55, that's what it was, correct? 55.12, we still have 20 pips or so in ADR. What's the distance down to the 800, to that next pivot point? About 20 pips, 19.4 pips. So now you can see, I measured the risk at 7, the reward potential I knew was to the 800, right? ADR tells me I could reach that 800, right? The 20 pips, and that's 3 over 2R, almost 3R on this setup. So using all those factors, saying, look, it's a breakout, the trend is pretty clear, I give it a B setup because it's counter trend. Knowing my risk is 7, knowing I could get almost 3R, maybe more out of this, this is a good setup and that's why I'm in the trade. So there is our 6:15 candle close. We are still up in the trade and we're going to give this time. It might stay, sideways here at the pivot for a little bit, but not break the 8 EMA, maybe retest this zone before it comes lower. So we got to give it time. So like I said, It's 6:15. I appreciate you guys being here. If you have any questions, if anything I just said is not clear on the setup or on how I'm going to manage it, just drop a comment below. I'm always going to answer you guys. And I'll come back on in a couple minutes and keep you posted on how this trade is developing. All right, guys, it is 7:48. As you can see, I'm down about 7, almost 8 pips here, so it's pretty close to my stop loss. I want to flip over to TradingView and just show you what I'm looking at here. So we were in the initial breakout. We hit the pivot point here. We had a little bit of divergence form. You can see these purple lines that I have drawn. I'll show you in a second on the 1-minute chart. And that could be what sent us back up to the 50 EMA here. But if we are looking at this trade as, still holding trend, if we're not trying to call a bottom and buy this here, and we're looking for things that are telling us where this is truly moving. The EMAs do say downtrend. The TDI does say downtrend. Now, of course, you can draw lines and show divergence from yesterday's RSI low into today and say, hey, look, it's divergent. It could reverse. That's always going to be there, right? That's not always, but very, very often that's going to be present. You really have to, in my opinion, especially because we're midweek, stay focused on the trend, stay focused on what the EMAs and the TDI are telling you. I think if we see a TDI like this that's in the sell zone, more often than not, this pair moves lower during the day. The other thing about the trade, why I'm trying to stay in the trade and hopefully not get stopped, is because this is the first push out of the Asian range, right? This was the break for a new low of day that we entered on, breaks the Asian range low set here, and then it moves back now into the Asian range to retest it. If we can hold the 50, I do think this is going to come back down and come lower. So I'm going to try to stay in the trade. I'm going to keep you guys posted. If I get stopped, we'll just look for another re-entry that fits the system, shake that off completely, and just keep it moving. But I do think this is still going to come lower today, so I'm going to stick to my bias, stick to my plan, and see if we can find a re-entry signal or see if we can make this thing, wait for this thing to come down into profit. So again, if you guys have any questions, it's about 7:50. Drop a comment below. If you want to know why I'm holding in so long, if I didn't make it clear here in this part of the video, just let me know, and I will check back in with you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, it is 8:19. We are down just about 5 pips in the trade. So if we flip over to TradingView, you can see the pullback here would have hit our initial stop where I had my first stop loss set. But after talking to everybody in the VIP over the last 30 minutes or so, we decided that it was okay to move the stop up, and there's 2 reasons for that. I don't want you to just think I'm moving my stop around, not following a plan. The plan always calls for good risk reward. So if I can move the stop up, now it's about 10 pips. If I can move it up to 10 pips, but I can still go get 18, 19, 20, maybe 25 out of this thing, which ADR says I can get more, then the risk reward is still good in this setup, and it's justified if there's a technical reason to move the stop to a certain point. So once I had the risk reward kind of justified, I then needed to find that technical reason. If you zoom back to yesterday's low, you can see we set that low at 845 right here. It's 111.23. That pin created the zone. If you don't know how I'm drawing these zones, just go to the support and resistance video that I have on my channel here. It's free. Just go watch that. It'll explain it really easily for you. But you can see the zone was kind of set, tested here at the end of the day, and then broken during the Asian session. Retested again from Asian session into the London session, and now to the T. The price came back to the T, right there to the bottom of the zone. And that's why I wanted to move the stop higher, just to give it a little bit more space, because I know sometimes it'll do this. It never just falls in your direction. Very, very rarely. Like that GU trade 2 weeks ago or the GJ trade. Those are rare, and they're pushed by news. The market normally moves in waves. So here, we want to give it space for that pullback, and now I'm still in the trade, still holding in, down just 4 or 5 pips. I'm going to give it time. Hopefully we get a move down here towards 111.13, 111.10, and all the way down to 111 flat. That's what I'm anticipating here, especially if in 9 minutes we close under the 50 EMA. It'll be a really nice kind of, attempt at a break, test of the zone, and a push back down, back into overall direction of trend. So it's 8:20. We'll give it a little bit more time. I'll keep you guys posted. And as always, I appreciate you sticking through here with me. Let's see how this trade plays out. Okay, guys, it is 9:24. I just added a small position to this trade because I really like what it's doing here on TradingView on the 1 minute. I'm seeing divergence build. I'm seeing price action setting a level, and the RSI showing me that it can't break that level. Now, this is a signal that I've been building and testing over the last year and a half. So I feel pretty confident in this, that now that we've seen a break of the 50, we're now breaking the 200 here on the 1 minute. I do think this is going to continue lower. So I want to add to the position a little bit. I put in a little more risk here, not too much. So now in total on this trade, I'm less than 0.75 risk. So the first position was about 0.5, the second position a little less than 0.25. So still very small overall, still respecting the initial grade of the setup, but I do think we're going to see more push to the downside here in coming minutes. I wanted to come on and just update you guys on that position that I've added to, and now I'll let this thing roll and I'll come back in a couple minutes for you. Okay guys, it is 10:27 almost. We're approaching the 10:30 close, I wanted to just update you guys on the trade. As you can see, I'm down about 5 pips from that first entry, and I'm just moving into profit on the second entry. So we've been sitting through the consolidation here, if we take a look at TradingView, and really I can close the TDI. You guys know at this point, the TDI is telling us to sell at this time, today. Here, we had our first entry. You see the push to the pivot point. I have them turned off, but there's a pivot point here. It bounces off the pivot and comes back to the 50. We know if it can hold this 50 zone, the zone set back here at yesterday's low, the first push to yesterday's low, not the final low, the first zone that this low respects. See, everybody looks at this as the low, which it is, that's important, but I think this is like the secret important level right here that you need to pay attention to, because look, I saw it pulling back to that level, never even broke really into that level and closed, and now we're pushing back down off of it in the direction the TDI is telling us to sell it today. So you're going to be able to sell this most likely down to the 800 EMA here, which will be a nice 4R trade on this second entry, maybe even, let's see, almost 5R if we can get it all the way down to 95. So we'll see. We'll let the trade continue to develop, but I did want to come on, show you guys how it's holding the 50 well, holding that zone from yesterday's low, the initial low here in the New York session, holding that zone and now moving lower, like I said. So I'll come back on in a little bit. It's almost 10:30 here, and I will keep you guys posted. All right, guys, it is almost 2:30 in the afternoon. I was just stopped on this trade at 111.25. So a small loss here, about 0.75. Since I added to that initial 0.5 risk from the first entry here, I added up here, the total loss was a little bit larger than the original risk, but I still really felt as though I followed the plan as best I could. I liked the structure. I liked the first entry. Now, people will say, hey, you could have pulled it here for a smaller loss and just left it alone for the day it died. Yes, of course, but to some extent, I like to trade. I think that the two things that stand out to me as far as maybe why this trade didn't work, right? Why I was still willing to get back in here after the first push down. First thing was the fact that there's no high impact news, nothing to drive the market today. You can see yellow folders everywhere, very low impact, nothing at all, really. Number two, the second thing of why maybe this trade didn't work out was because it was counter trend. Yeah, the TDI was telling us to sell it, but the EMAs here, we are in an overall uptrend. I think the last thing, and this is a good thing to wrap the video up with, is if you zoom out and you look at the divergence that's now building from yesterday, which is Tuesday, into today's RSI low. So if you start at yesterday's RSI low, connected into today's RSI low at 6 a.m., you can see it's been building divergence since then. That might tell us, if I match that up right here, that might tell us that a break of the 50 EMA here could see this thing come higher tomorrow and into Friday. So we will have to keep an eye on this. But I think start to finish, what you guys should be able to take out of this trade is, one, the risk was controlled, never risking too much, very comfortable with the risk, very confident in the risk. Number two, I knew it was a B setup. That's why I wasn't super aggressive in it, right? We knew we were counter trend. We knew that there was no news to drive it today. We knew that sometimes this thing just chops. We did see this divergence potentially building as well. So a couple of things there to say, hey, this isn't something you want to put the whole thing in, right? Not that you ever do that, but take a larger position of. And like I said lastly, the divergence that's been building from yesterday into today might be the reason that we didn't see this move lower. You can see it came right down to that divergence point here and bounced as the day went on. So we'll see. Does it hold 111.05, 111.06 and move higher as the week goes on? Or does it come down and finish the move that we thought it was going to make today? Either way, I followed my plan, I followed my process. This is like one of our first true red days here on the YouTube channel. It's been very, very consistent over the last couple of months. You guys have seen that. So I hope that the red day teaches you something. The risk is controlled. I don't jump back in for no reason. I follow my rules. I stick to the rules. I take good signals no matter what. If it didn't present, I would have had one entry. I would have left it alone, and that would have been it. So again, maybe even if we're being super analytical, I could have followed my rules, closed it here when it broke the 21, taken the loss, gotten back in, taken the, maybe done that a little better. But because I knew the pullback could happen, because I knew that 1 minute was developing in the way that I saw it, the way I showed it to you, that's why I stayed in the original entry. That's not typically what I'll do. So that'll be noted. We'll make sure we do better going forward, and I hope this video helps you make better trading decisions going forward as well. Thank you guys for being here. As always, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next trading recap.